Hello and welcome back to Bluebaggers Edge. Always a pleasure to have your company, and even more so because we are coming out our third successive win for season 2025. This time coming up against the Cats. And as we flick across the scores now, it is 14-10-94 to Geelong 12-4-76. So victorious by 18 points at the MCG on the Sunday of round 7. So it was really an incredible game. Going into it, expectations were, in all honesty, probably thought the Cats were a little bit better than us, even though our form had been good. And, it was a case of me not wanting to get ahead of myself, I think more than anything. Expectations for me were just, as I said in the preview episode that I posted prior to this game, that I was hoping for some consistency in our performance across the board. The more so than anything, I think the pressure side of the game, I was hoping that would continue, and boy, did that continue. It was a game that we dictated on our terms based off that basic instinct of just pressure, tackling pressure, everything else that went with it, and it was a really, really good, well-rounded performance by us. I think we almost led from start to finish. I think the Cats kicked the first goal of the game, but from then on, I'm pretty sure that we didn't let up. And we'll have a look at the timeline here. So it was like scores level, and then bang, we just went on with it. So it was a really, really consistent performance across the board, as I said, and even more so as well, because I think in the start of the third quarter, the Cats kicked the first 2 goals of the game. And then the start of the fourth quarter, they kicked again the first 2 goals of that quarter. So really good to see us bounce back and respond, because, we've been struggling with the fact that whenever sides have put pressure on us and they've upped the pressure rating in turn, that we have really struggled to respond and rebound and I guess put up a bit of a shield to deflect that. And we did that really, really well, responded both times, especially in the second half. As we know, our second halves have been very, very ordinary. And for us to do that in that context was even better. So a really, really solid effort there. Let's go through the stats as always and just break it down in raw terms. So we had, believe it or not, we had 67 more disposals in total. More kicks, more handballs, inside 50s. Now, this is the big one as well. 63. Now, we are averaging 59.9 for the season. We had 63, and we ended up having 24 scoring shots. So, not quite 50%, but, getting up there, which is the main thing, I think. We have been having issues, and that's part of our, I guess, difficulties that we've been experiencing based upon our forward 50 entries and kicking to parts of the 50 where we're actually a good percentage chance to convert our opportunities to goals. So, I think in that context, we are getting better. We are getting better in recent weeks. We've seen that. So that is good to see. Inside 50s for the Cats, they had 44, well down on their season average of 50.4. We, of course, were above par. Disposal efficiency, we had 76.5 to Geelong's 67.7, so almost 10% more better disposal efficiency, which is a big, big thing. We were above our efficiency rating on average by, almost 7% compared to the Cats, who were down 2.7%. So a real big improvement in our game in this specific game alone. Efficiency inside 50, we were actually down on our season average, which is 43%, only 38.1. And for the Cats, they were actually down as well, but they were more efficient inside 50. Again, they, as you can see, you just have to look at the number of inside 50s stacked up alongside the number of scoring opportunities they had. They had 16 from 44. Probably a little bit better than us. Hitouts, we actually won the hitouts here, 5 in our favour. Clearances, we had 6 more. And moving forward to the possession side of the game, contested possessions, we had 9 more than the Cats. Uncontested possessions, we had 255, which is well above our season average of 221.3. and we smashed them in uncontested possessions here. It was 75 more in total than the Cats, 180, and they were down on their season average as well. Moving on to the turnovers, they ended up having 6 more turnovers, 10 more actually than what they normally have from week to week, and we were just a little bit above par in terms of the number of turnovers there. On the marks, we had almost 50 more marks, which is a big thing, and it speaks to that uncontested side of the game as well. We really dictated terms. We found the space when we needed to, and they weren't manning us up. So it was good to pick them apart in that sense there. The marks inside 50, we had 14 to Geelong's 9. They were below par for the season, and we were slightly above by 2. Contested marks is a big one. We had 18 to Geelong's 8, and a really big indicator of, the contested part of the game, obviously. Inside forward 50, especially in defence. The likes of Nick Haynes in defence, Weeders taking some really nice grabs, and we'll speak about individual performances in a moment. And defence, really good to see. Again, we won the tackle count, and that was an area that I highlighted that was an issue against West Coast, when West Coast actually had more tackles than us, despite the fact that we won by, 80 points or whatever. And last week, we won the tackles against North Melbourne. I wanted this part of our game to continue. Thankfully, it did, and that is a big tick. For tackles inside 50, we had 12, a little bit below par for us, but for the Cats, well below par by over 10. And that's pretty much the breakdown for those stats. Let's have a look at the specific stats when it comes to individual performances and the scoring side of things as well. So we might go through the scoring side of things first. In terms of goals that we had in what areas of the ground and where those sources came from, those score sources. And I spoke about it in the preview, and I'm glad it actually paid off, because when I was going through Geelong's game from week to week across previous opponents, they were actually being exposed for goals conceded on turnover. So again, turnovers being forced through pressure, tackling, all that sort of stuff that we've been really good in the past couple of weeks. We applied that. We forced the turnovers, and we actually had 10 of our 14 total goals coming via turnover, which is a really pleasing thing to see. Score origins, forward half or defensive half, surprisingly. Not really much in the centre bounce for either team, but a really good sign. Let's go through the individual performances now. Well, I just want to pay homage, I think, to a couple of players here. So let's start things by looking at Elijah Holland. So he was, believe it or not, the best rated player on field and had an incredible game. Really fitting as well to do it alongside Harry. Both of these boys have had time off for personal issues, a couple of different reasons. But with Lige, his link-up play is so crucial. Roaming is that high half forward and across the wing. And there's various stages as well where he actually pushed into defensive 50 to provide an option, a get-out option, and was very crucial. And must mention, how classy was his goal in tight. Like, he took the ball from Hewitt, snapped around his body, surrounded by 3 Geelong players as he was really tight in the pocket. Like, that there is just raw instinctive talent. So a great sight to see. He had 25 disposals, 1 goal, 80% disposal efficiency, 4 tackles, 15 pressure acts, and 6 score involvements. So a really well-rounded game by Lige, and a welcome return to form by him, having been out for as long as he has. Alongside Harry, of course, he played with the confidence and surety in his game that we all know and love that Harry has in his game. So he's very much a confidence player, as we know, and to see him playing at the height of his ability with such freedom was just incredible to see. Like, flying for marks, tunnel vision, to the point where, he's flying for marks despite the fact that we're Geelong players in front of him. He was like a bowling ball through skittles. Just really good to see. Warms the heart. And, there was a bit of play where he was kicking for goal in the pocket near where my reserve seat is at the MCG. And the amount of noise that we all made for Harry then, chanting, cheering, it's a support that must have been so uplifting to him. And George Hewitt actually mentioned it. There's an article written about Georgie Boy Hewitt's game, and he mentions the noise that we made getting around Harry and the effect that it had. And he said it was, a 67,000 capacity crowd, but yet it sounded as if and felt as if it was like a 90,000 crowd. Such was the noise, atmosphere, everything else, the electricity that we're making as a supporter group, as a supporter base, was really, really, really heartening. Harry had 12 marks, just flew for everything, 3 goals, 3 score involvements, and it was the style of his goal celebrations as well that really gave an insight into, it's almost like he's enjoying footy again. That time off that he needed was just ever so crucial because he's gone away, he's re-energized his mind, and he's come back a better footballer. It's something that puts a smile on my face, really, just to see that because, as I said, Harry's a confidence player. He needs that confidence behind him to, reach the heights that we've seen him reach in being a Coleman medalist. So really, really a great thing to see, and just really hope that he can find consistency in his game from here on out. And just, as I said, enjoys football likewise as well. Now, want to really pay tribute as well to the defensive unit that we have. Obviously, Wieders, Silvani, Haynes. So we'll start off with Sauce. So, Sauce took the first intercept mark of the game with Geelong's first inside 50 entry. And, it really set the tone. He's been arguably our most consistent performer across the season to date. Like, in a position he hasn't played in full time. He may have had spatterings of experience in the VFL in defence, but to come in senior level and become so accustomed to the defensive mindset and acclimatise himself to defensive positioning and all that goes with it is simply elite. And then we factor in, of course, that he has had a season-long layoff with an ACL injury. It's simply remarkable. So again, tip of the cap to you, Sauce. But recording this at the moment, I did hear earlier on that apparently he has broken his hand and will be out for at least 1 to 2 weeks. So he's going to be a big, big loss. It does mean now that, the likes of Youngie can come back in. And, I think he was very unlucky to make way young. Did a lot of some really nice things. When I'm talking about, goal assists, 1%ers, which led to goals, all that sort of stuff against North Melbourne. So he probably would have kept his spot had he not been, I guess, warm in the seat of Harry, or at least for Harry. Nick Haynes. So I spoke about this. If you haven't seen it, go and check it out. I was very lucky enough to feature on Terry's Blue Abroad channel, and we had a very nice discussion analysing the game. And I spoke about Nick Haynes in the sense that he was for me best on ground, by far and away best on ground. Like Hewitt was good, yes, I know. Sauce was good. Wieders was good. Cripper in his own way. Walshy as well. But the Nick Haynes that we saw was prime Nick Haynes, like channeling his All-Australian form, the sort of form that won him the best and fairest at the Giants, drifting across, taking crucial intercept marks, pinpointing passes in contested situations. He really did it all. And the one thing I really love about Haynes is the fact that he is such a smart footballer. He gets himself into the right positions to assist his teammates, but also reads the play before it actually unfolds to force a contest or drift across and intercept. So I say this with a lot of emphasis on Nick Haynes and putting a spotlight on his game because he's copped a fair bit of shit from supporters across the, the duration of 2025 to date. And Terry was really humble and honest enough to admit himself. He virtually put in the chat that anyone tuning in, if you were someone who now can admit that you were wrong about Haynes, and yes, it's one game, but this is a really big game. Previous games up until this, he's been actually a really solid contributor as well. He started the season in slow form, but Terry was like, I'm one of those people that, hand on heart, will admit now that I had lower expectations and I thought maybe he was a bust. So, you got to remember that, coming from another team into this team, brand new team with a new system that he had to adjust to, it was going to take a couple of games, if not maybe a little bit more before he got the full grasp of it. Positioning wise, the strengths, weaknesses of his teammates in defense, all that sort of stuff. So what we see now and what we saw on the weekend is, what I was so bullish about when we brought Haynes into the team. I was so happy because I was like, if he can apply what he has at the Giants, which is what we saw on the weekend, we're going to be all the more better for it. So he has really worked himself into form and been a solid contributor in our back six, that is for sure. I want to pay a tribute as well to Walshy. Now, there was a bit of play that epitomised the Walshy we know and love with his work rate, hard running, and link up play. And it was in the first quarter on the wing at a stoppage, and it was TDK passing it or hitting it down to Cripper, feeding Cripps, who handballed to Hewitt, then to Walsh, who ran on, got a 1-2 from Harry, and then he hit up Fogarty on the tit, who kicks truly. So that there is the, the tireless work rate Walsh that we love, and, the really pinpoint high-end disposal efficiency that we want to see more of from Walshy. So is he back in full fitness? Hope so, because, what we saw in the back part of 2023, especially in the finals, when he was running on top of the ground, he was just absolutely elite. This was like a little bit of a glimpse, a glimmer of like, maybe this is the Walshy, maybe this is that Walshy, and maybe he's back. So I am very, very excited for that. One player who is unheralded and probably won't be spoken about in the same context as others that I've spoken about, Fogarty. Now, I will admit, much like, Hainsey and Tez on Blue Abroad putting his hand up with regards to Haynes, I will put my hand up and say with Fogarty that even though it's been one game, that you've proved me wrong, because in my eyes, and you would have heard it had you tuned into the preview video or episode for this game, that I thought that Fogarty was very lucky to stick around on the team. And I probably thought that, playing 5 small forwards is probably 1 or 2 too many. And Fogarty hasn't been in the best form, but he absolutely bounced back brilliantly with his tackling and pressure up forward. Finally hit the scoreboard as well, twice, mind you. And through second and third efforts, dished up a goal assist under pressure to TDK in the second quarter that was absolutely elite. So brilliant stuff there from Fogarty. But I think, moreover, and speaking more broadly, the big pleasing part of the game was consistency of pressure. So I think, and I spoke to Terry about this, the benefit of playing a couple of minnow opponents in West Coast and North Melbourne back-to-back has allowed us to get back to basics and work on our pressure game without the worry of, perhaps trying it in another game where we might be cut to ribbons against a, more able opponent like a Brisbane or whoever. We looked ultra rusty against West Coast, and that was highlighted by our tackling numbers being way off the mark, with just 35 compared to 46 to West Coast, which was very, very poor. And then the very next week against North Melbourne, we turned that around. We flipped it on its head, and we had 83 tackles. And as a result of that tackling and that pressure, we were able to kick 11 goals via turnover, which comes as a byproduct of those tackles, which actually counted for almost half of our total goals in that game. So 11 goals, almost half of those, I think it was 22 or 23 that we ended up, or maybe 24 goals. So almost half of those goals came via turnover and tackling pressure. Then against the Cats, we had 70 tackles, and 10 of our 14 goals came via turnovers. So again, that stat was a big, big part of why we won the game. And I spoke about this being an area that we could exploit in my preview of this match, as the Cats had actually considered a number of goals via turnover in recent weeks. So chink in the armour, and no doubt that Voss and co identified this, and brilliantly, and, off the back of what we've been applying in recent weeks against North Melbourne, especially with that pressure, tackling, everything else, apply that, you get results. And, the Cats couldn't counter it. And I think we have finally unlocked this area of our game that we can excel so well in when we execute the basics. So the basics here are just playing for each other, tackling, pressure, numbers to the footy, manning up opponents when need be, and really nice ball movement, like fast ball movement as well when we're coming out of defense, when we're switching the play. Don't just switch it, hold the ball, and then everyone's stagnant down the line, where you just kick into a contest of, 22 players. So what we've seen is a really, really pleasing aspect, I think, and probably the best that we've played all season from, go to woe. The question's probably now, like, what has changed since the fact that we were, 0-4? But confidence is a big, big thing. And there's no doubting we've got the talent. Like, we have virtually the same core that we did when we made a prelim in 2023. We didn't lose talent overnight. You can't lose talent overnight or within the space of a season and a half, but you can certainly lose confidence. And when that happens, you drop your head, doubt sets in, and errors to start to seep into the game. And that loss of confidence and belief is almost contagious, and every single player or majority of players in the team suffered from that. And then the losses mount, confidence drops again across the board. So I think it's really been a blessing in disguise. Do I think that we would have turned things around at this point had we not faced, lesser opponents in North Melbourne and West Coast? I honestly, as a sliding doors, I don't think we would have. You need to, get a win to get the monkey off the back, and you need to win in a way, in a style, in a manner that, you're not relying on the opponent to, shoot themselves in the foot and, trip up and lose the game for themselves. Like, you want to win the game off your own bat. And that's what we've done against North Melbourne and now Geelong. And Geelong being a really, really solid opponent is great signs. Great signs for us going forward. Next week even, as soon as next week, or this coming round. Adelaide, they've been a team that started on fire. Mind you, they've only won one of their past 4 from memory, and that was that really grinding game against the Giants when it was really defensive, low scoring. We'll speak about the Adelaide game in a bit more detail, obviously, in the preview episode, but it's probably going to be a bit of a challenge with us as well. As I said, Silvani's going to be out with that broken hand. That ridiculous Adam Chera push that was a suspendable offence for 1 week, which I have no idea how it can be, because Jack Bowes stepped forward as Chera was pushing, and as he stepped forward, he lowered his body, and that push went a little bit high. That should be nothing more than a free kick at all. And this is not even speaking from a Carlton perspective. If this was a Collingwood player, I'd be saying the exact same thing. That is not a reportable offence. I'm sorry. That's a free kick. That should have been given a free kick to Jack Bowes. As accidental as it was, it's a free kick. He played on, didn't get concussed. So that, I can talk about that in great detail, but surely that is contested. And surely, if the AFL has any sense, he will get off. There was no intent. It was low impact. Yes, it was high. It was accidental. Throw it out. So Popper O'Farrell, our lawyer, Harry's dad, get to it, mate. Literally just in and out, 5 minutes, be like, you guys are taking the piss. Michael Christian has zero idea about reportable offences, and let Ches play. So I'm expecting, obviously, Sauce to be out. Young could potentially come back in, which is going to be interesting. But I say interesting because of the fact that Young has performed better when up forward. He may be required down in defence now. That's probably the one main change. I mean, Williams being out, if he is out this coming round, we'll have to obviously replace him. Doherty, does he come in? He had 27 disposals in the VFL, maybe. So we'll look to that as well. But just looking down this list here as well, spoke about Harry, spoke about Walshy, Fogarty, unsung hero. Ollie Hollands bounced back as well, played a really nice game. Sard with his run, dash and carry, refreshing to see, and hope to see a little bit more. Cripper had a very nice game, bounced back from a relatively quiet one against North Melbourne. Georgie Boy Hewitt, he just continues to dominate, career best form, and did it all. Went forward, kicked the sealer as well. Charles snapped some nice goals around his body, which was good to see. Wieders, as rock solid as always. Nick Haynes, spoke about him. He was my best on ground. Blake Acres, thereabouts. And, the small forward brigade, Corey Durden took a very, very nice mark. Good pressure ratings as well. Cooper Lord came on as the sub. And that's the other thing as well. If Williams is out, and potentially if Chera is out as well, probably more so, we'll have to play here from the outset. I'm not a fan of playing Coops as the sub. I do think he can absolutely dominate if he plays a normal amount of game time. So maybe put one of our small forwards as a sub. Will White, who knows? Jesse didn't have the best game, must be said. Was okay through the middle as well, but actually, what's his what were the tackle numbers, pressure rating there? 9 pressure acts. Okay, had 1 tackle, so nothing out of this world. But yeah, Mitch McGovern actually played a really good game as well. To his credit, nice link-up play, 1-2 punch with Haynes in defence. And TDK as well. As I said, won the hit-outs, did some really nice things, kicked a goal. So incredible performances across the board there. So with that, we'll end things there. Let us know your thoughts. What impressed you most coming out of the win? Individual performances. Are you perhaps someone that's critiqued a player like I have with Fogarty, like others have with Haynes, that you'll put your hand up and say, you know what? Maybe I was wrong. We've all been there, but I think that probably speaks to the amount of confidence that the team is having at the moment. Like not just Harry coming back. We've got Haynes back in form. We've got Fogarty finding a bit of form. And to find form against a really quality opponent in Geelong is no mean feat. So that is something that I think the team should hang their hat on, and what the coaches should be reminding the players of, that we're now in a patch of form that we can really build upon. Yes, 2 of the 3 wins successive have been against lower opponents, but you can only beat who you're fixtured against, end of the day. And I think to now apply what we did against North Melbourne to Geelong and get a result, which, as I said in the review episode coming out of the North Melbourne game, if we continue to play this way, we will beat most teams. And that's what we saw on Sunday against the Cats. We applied the same pressure rating, the same tackling numbers, the inside 50 tackles, more importantly, the rebound out of defence, the beautiful switching play, the quick movement of the ball. We can win against most teams. That I'm confident of. So from here on out, I'm just hoping to see some consistency even more. Just continue this consistency, this application of form, this application of pressure rating. Just keep it really, really high. So there's an opportunity here for us to win our 4th successive game, which is going to be it's going to be a challenge, especially in Adelaide. But we won't chat about that in great detail here, because we will do that in the preview episode to follow. So again, let us know your thoughts down below. Emotions coming out of the game. And as I said, guys that you want to pinpoint, tip the cap to for playing an incredible game. But geez, how good is it to win and win against a quality opponent and win in a manner and style that you're expecting of the Carlton Football Club, that we would have been expecting from round 1 onwards. It's taken us a little while to get there, but we're here. So belief is building. We don't want to get ahead of ourselves as yet. As we always say, we just have our eyes on the next week and we build from there. Well, that's it, ladies and gents. Thanks as always for tuning in, and go Baggers.
Have you ever heard the MCG